The story starts with our main lead Anastasia finding out that she is indeed a princess on the day of her spirit ceremony. Everyone in ceremony glares at her as she stood there. Then a voice breaks the silence. It is Princess Anastasia's turn. Anastasia standing next to a pool, she thinks, amazing, it's filled with water. She steps in the pool filled with cold water. She jolted saying, it's cold. She thinks, I miss Mama and Papa. I want to go home and have some cake. But now that I'm here in the Imperial Palace, I want to at least have a cup of hot chocolate before leaving. Or maybe a fondant au chocolate with snow-white icing sugar sprinkled on top. I don't care what I get. I just want this to be over quickly so I can go home. Then we saw a flashback of Anastasia's life. Her mother was fixing the roof of their small broken cottage. After completing her work, she shouts in excitement, I'm done fixing the roof. Then she jumps off from the roof. Anastasia gives a towel to her, said, Mama. Her mom asked her, did you come to pick me up? She picks her up saying, my precious little princess. Anastasia said, I didn't do anything. I just sat outside the door and waited for you. Her mom said, that still counts. They comes inside sniffing a delicious smell and said, something smells delicious. Her dad said, thanks for a job well done, Irina. Come and have a seat. Her dad said to Anastasia, now, come to Papa, my little princess. Seeing the food Anastasia's father cooked, her mom said, oh my. Artin brought us some nice quality meat today. Anastasia thinks, wow, today's stew has real meat in it. But, it's only in my dish, Mama and Papa's bowls. Her dad feeding her asked, do you want to take the first bite, sweetheart? She said, Mama, Papa, you two should hurry and eat too. Her mom said, okay, I'm eating. Her mom, having a spoonful of stew, smiled at her. Then she asked Yuri, by the way, Yuri, our Asya should be having her spirit ceremony soon, but I don't think we can prepare it by ourselves. He replied, don't worry, Irina. Maxim offered to help us out with that. Irina said then, will Asya and Dmitri have it at the same time? He said, no, actually, Dmitri. Asya interrupts her dad asking, Papa, what's a spirit ceremony? Yuri replied, oh, well, it means you will have a new friend soon, princess. She tilts her head saying, a friend? But I don't need one. Hearing this, they get shocked at first, and then starts crying. Asya. Her village was in a remote corner of the countryside, and at the furthest edge of that small and insignificant village lies her family's crumbling cottage. They were much poorer than any of the other families in their neighborhood, but poverty isn't the reason why she have no friends. Her parents have the unusual hobby of inviting musicians over to their home for private concerts even when they can hardly afford it. Her father takes time out of his busy schedule to draw and play musical instruments, and her mother is an excellent swordswoman. It's no wonder that they stand out among the commoners, when most of them wouldn't even have a chance to hold a sword or an instrument in their lifetimes. But she actually the weirdest of them all, because she was reincarnated here. The others are too young for her, but obviously, her parents blame themselves and pity their friendless daughter. Even now, her father hugged her saying, unacceptable. Our princess deserves the most beautiful spirit ceremony this world has ever seen. Then I'd like white dandelion decorations. The person he was talking to replied, okay. I will make you a wreath with 100 dandelions. Then suddenly the door burst opens and some knights enters. Her mom drew her sword out. The knights said, please forgive our intrusion. We have an urgent message to pass along. We are. Asya's mom interrupts saying, Yuri, go to the back door. Her dad, while holding her in his arms and running, said, I know. Seeing him running really fast, she thinks, huh? Papa? Wow, is this really the same feeble dad I know? He's acting like a completely different person. She recalled her dad saying, the emperor is crazy. I will curse that man for the rest of my life. Her mom said, you can't even hold your liquor, so why did you drink? She thinks, was my father a rebel? Are they here to arrest him? Did the emperor finally decide to root out the rebels? Then the knights came along with her mother. Seeing her, she thinks, Mama, did they catch her too? She tries to shout, Mama. The knights said, we are here to escort Princess Anastasia back to the imperial palace. Hearing that, she gets shocked and asked, what? Coming back to the day of her spirit ceremony, someone said, the spirit ceremony for the direct descendants of the imperial family shall commence shortly. Prince Ilya, Prince Dmitri. She thinks, this can't be true, right? It's a lie. It has to be. Please, somebody tell me I'm just dreaming. Seeing her, other people standing there starts murmuring, who's she? Judging by the fact that she's here, I guess she's our cousin, but I've never seen her before. She's scrawny and thinner than a twig. She's even smaller than Ilya. She looks like she'd snap in half at the slightest breeze. She thinks, I can't believe that I'm actually the evil Princess Anastasia. This can't be true. The story is about how an ordinary girl, who has the powers of life and stability, falls in love with a man who has the unstable yet strong power of fire. Of course, there are countless obstacles standing in their way, and they overcome the difficulties together. I bet you're wondering if she's that ordinary girl in this story. I wish. The truth is, she is the most formidable obstacle that threatens to tear the couple apart. She is Anastasia, the cousin of the male protagonist, Prince Alexei. In this world, even commoners can make it big if they acquire rare elemental spirits. However, those with weak elemental spirits have little chance of success, even if they are descended from nobility. That is especially true for the imperial family. The one who makes a contract with the best spirit becomes next in line for the throne. Otherwise, they are thrown out of the palace. Because her father, Prince Yuri, voluntarily left the palace, Anastasia grew up poor. But the spirit ceremony granted her a rare spirit, which turned her life around overnight. With both a powerful spirit and a claim to the throne, she committed all sorts of sinister deeds. Before karma caught up to her, and she met a miserable end. She thinks, I can't believe I am the Princess Anastasia who spends the first decade of her life completely in the dark about the secret behind her birth. She was only briefly able to taste the sweetness of life for a short period before heading full speed down the road to misery and self-destruction. Moreover, she read this story more than 10 years before her reincarnation, so she don't even remember the title. She thinks, was it a movie or a book? I would have preferred being reincarnated into a story that I know a little better. That way, I could have overcome the adversities using my prior knowledge and lived happily ever after. Isn't that what's supposed to happen? So, what the heck is this? She experienced all sorts of difficulties in her previous life, and she had hoped that her life would be different this time. Whether in her past life or this one, why is it so hard for her to live out my simple dream of baking delicious cookies? She sighed, and while slapping her face she thinks, no, pull yourself together. You might be a different Anastasia. And this might be a different story. Suddenly a voice interrupts her. Emperor Mikhail and Prince Alexei are making their entrance. She thinks, dang it, that's the male lead's name. Then the door opened and Emperor along the prince came. Seeing the prince she thinks, that's right. I remember this scene. That's Alexei, and you can tell he's a main character just by looking at him. Then he glanced at her. She noticed and thought, whoa, why did Princess Anastasia want to fight a guy like him in the first place? He's just standing there, but there's a cold wind blowing from his direction. The emperor said, let the ceremony begin. The announcer said, the spirit ceremony will now commence. Prince Demir, please come forward first. The spirit of candlelight has granted its blessings to Prince Demir. The spirit of glass has granted its blessings to. The spirit of flowers has granted. Then he said, it is Princess Anastasia's turn. While sitting in pool she thinks, I miss my mama and papa. Even though I'm in the palace, it's so cold. I want to go home and have some cake. So please, I want my spirit to be trivial and weak. I don't want one like Anastasia's. I don't need a fancy spirit of birds or whatever it was in the movie or the book. Then she noticed sparkles coming out of her hands, huh? She thinks, what's this sweet taste? Sugar? Then the spirit of bird appears. Seeing it she freezes with shock. The spirit tilts its head towards her. Seeing it she thinks, it can't be this extravagant, and it even has a material body? If I bring this with me, they'll definitely force me to stay in the palace. Then, I'll end up antagonizing Alexei and suffer miserably. She shouts, no. Then suddenly the spirit becomes a little chick. Seeing this she gets confused and thinks spirits can change forms. She said, why, you are cute, but I need you to be even smaller than that. Well, oh, something like a brooch or a button. For a moment the spirit thinks something. Then it transformed into a button. She puts that on her dress and said, it really changed its form. I don't have the time to be doing this. If I stay here too long they'll become suspicious. She opens the door and comes outside. A priest standing right in front of door noticed her. He asked, Your Highness, were you able to identify the spirit you made a contract with? Anastasia replied, no. The priest asked, then, are you able to use your power? She shakes her head in denial. Anastasia thinks, he'll probably think that my spirit is worthless now, right? Then the priest said, don't worry. We can ask Marquis Maxim Serenitov. He has the spirit of discernment. The priest leaves saying, please wait here for a moment, Your Highness. she thinks, the spirit of discernment. What's a thing? Is my secret going to be revealed here? The priest went to Marquis and said, Marquis Maxim Serenetiv, now that his lordship is here, we'll be able to find out about her spirit. Maxim, patting his son, said, I'm sure it's just another insignificant spirit. Meanwhile, Anastasia thinks, Maxim. Is he the same Maxim my dad used to talk about sometimes? Maxim asked him, So, you'd like me to identify what my little niece's spirit is? The priest replied, Yes, your lordship. Please use your power of discernment on Her Highness. Maxim laughed and said, No problem. This is what I'm here for, after all. Now, shall I have a look? She thinks, I should have just told him that it was the spirit of small birds. It's too late now. After observing her, he flinched. Then a grin appeared at his face. He said, It's a cute bird spirit that'll make a perfect pair with our little princess. The priest said, Listen here. Princess Asya has made a contract with the spirit of small birds. Yes, your lordship. She gets confused, huh? The priest said, The spirit of birds has granted its blessings to Princess Anastasia. She thinks, What's going on? He has the power of discernment. But his spirit's power couldn't properly identify another spirit? Should I be relieved? The emperor raised from his throne. He started walking towards Asya. She thinks, I guess the emperor is going to interview each one of us. She gulped, My turn is coming up. Then her turn comes, but the emperor didn't say anything. She thinks, Why isn't he saying anything? Then the emperor asked the butler, How old is this? She thinks this? Butler replied, She's 10 years old, your majesty. The emperor said, 10 years old? But she's so tiny and scrawny. If you had told me that she was 6, I would have believed you. Does Yuri not care about his own daughter? I suppose not, given his personality. The butler said, Why, your majesty? The truth is, Prince Yuri, seeing them, Asya thinks, there's no need to whisper. Yeah? My family is dirt poor. The penniless runaway prince is so poor that his malnourished daughter is as thin as a twig. He has so many grandchildren that he must not even think of me as his family. Just look at that cold expression on his face. The emperor asked, So, what did your parents say when they sent you to the imperial palace? Asya replied, They told me to take care of myself and return home safely, as soon as possible. Emperor asked, Return home? So, do you want to go home? She replied, Yes. He gets shocked by her quick and straightforward answer. Then he said, Well, I see. He turned, saying, Let's go. She thinks, Is it over? Was that it? I'm finally done. Now I can really go home. But then she thinks while laying on her bed in imperial palace, never mind. Then a maid came and opens the window. Asya asked her, Riss, the ceremony is all over, so when can I go home? She replied, Your Highness, would you like to go home? But if you stay here, you can always enjoy delicious cookies and wear pretty dresses. Asya said, But I miss my mama and papa so much. Riss said, His and Her Highness will be arriving soon. I thought they would come along with you. She said, Right. They'll come after 10 nights have passed. Asya asked, 10 nights? She flustered, replied, No, I mean 5 nights. After tonight, it will be 1 night less. Then, there will be only 4 nights to go. Yay! So you should hurry and get to sleep so that tonight can pass quickly. Asya thinks, maybe I'm really good at acting like a little kid now. Riss is totally treating me like a child. Listen, Riss. It took me 6 days to get here. Even if my parents had left yesterday, they wouldn't be able to make it within 5 nights. Even so, I don't want to cause trouble for her. She's been so nice to me, I should pretend to fall asleep. Then Riss said, Then I'll leave you to sleep and go to the kitchen, Your Highness. Please ring this bell if you need me or have a bad dream. Asya asked, Isn't it kind of late to cook? Riss replied, The Empire has been at war until recently, and now that the war is finally over, the Imperial Palace is planning a celebration banquet. I'm going to help prepare for it. It's going to be a huge party. They say even the famous Carno Neustadt will be in attendance. While leaving, Riss said, Good night, Your Highness. After she leaves, Asya thinks, I see, Carno Neustadt is coming. Then she blinked trying to fall asleep. But suddenly she realized something and jolted, saying, Carno Neustadt? Meanwhile in battlefield a knight said to Carno, Vice Commander Neustadt, we are all set to return. Hearing this he smirked. Then he said in a cold tone, Let's go. Asya thinks, Does she mean Carno Neustadt, the closest ally to Alexei, the male lead? She thinks, Carno Neustadt. That name immediately brought back all the information I had once known about him, as though it was fresh in my memory. He is the rightful heir to House Neustadt and a close friend of Crown Prince Alexei. Although eligible for the throne himself, before coming of age, he renounced his right to succession before coming of age. On top of that, he attributed all of his victories in war to Crown Prince Alexei. Since Anastasia appears out of nowhere and begins to act like a thorn in his side, Carno confronts her with downright hostility, until he finally drives her to her destruction, with haste. She starts trembling, thinking, I'm scared. It'll be fine. Whether he returns or not, I'm not going to stop him. I'll be back at home before long. Anyway, I should go to sleep now. I'm exhausted after the long day. Ha! Then she noticed her spirit under her blanket. It said, peep, peep. Asya asked, what? I'm going to sleep. The spirit pulls her blanket, shouting, cheap. It drags her by her dress and she asked, what's wrong with you? Stop pulling on me. You're gonna rip my clothes. It shouts, cheap. She asked, where are you taking me? We can't be wandering around so late at night. Meanwhile, Asya thinks, I shouldn't do anything that would draw attention to myself. The spirit takes her somewhere. She opens the door, saying, where in the world are we? She enters in room. Seeing it, she said, a kitchen. The spirit flew there and came back with a chocolate bar. Asya asked, what's this? It looks like a brick. Chocolate? She asked, where did you get this? The spirit wanders above different food items. She asked, chocolate, flour, butter, and eggs? What's this white powder? Then she thinks, it doesn't make the inside of my mouth sticky, and just this tiny bit is enough to taste the sweetness. I guess it was made from good quality sugarcane that was squeezed, boiled, and dried. This sugar must be very expensive. Oh, since when have I had such a sensitive palate? The spirit shouts, peep, peep. She asked it, what's wrong now? Then she remembered what she thought while being baptized. I miss my mama and papa. Even though I'm in the palace, it's so cold. I want to go home and have some cake. She shouts, are these ingredients for cake? She shakes the spirit, asking, do you want me to make a cake in this kitchen? What if I get caught? She thinks, I can't do anything suspicious. I might end up dying like the Anastasia from the original story. But then again, if I return home, I will never have a chance to bake a cake, not to mention, with such rare and expensive ingredients. Then the spirit with innocence in its eyes said softly, cheap. She thinks, maybe, everyone's busy preparing for the banquet, so no one will come here. Then she finally said, fine, I get it. I'll make it, okay? Even if I get caught, they might just let it slide if I say that it's for grandfather. She starts making the cake. Alright then. First I need a scale. What? No, you can never make a good cake by just guessing. Baking is all about exact measurements. Then suddenly the cook came and asked furiously, what the heck are you doing in my kitchen, kid? She gets shocked. Kaya, the cook said, which palace are you from? I've never seen a kid like you in Timur Palace. Asya said, I'm Asya. No, I mean Anastasia. He gets more furious and said, Asya or Anastasia, I don't care. I won't let even the highest ranking nobles enter my kitchen and make a mess without permission. Suddenly the spirit hits him. Peep, the cook asked, where did this baby chick come from? Did you bring it with you? She said, no. Actually, that bird was the one that brought me here. The cook said, you can't bring an animal into the kitchen. The only birds that are allowed in here are dead fowl and pie birds. She said, like I said, I didn't bring it. The cook, struggling to caught the spirit, asked, are you trying to tell me this is a spirit or something? He fell down shouting, rats! You miserable chick! Seeing him, she sighed. Then the cook said, this thing, and get the heck out of my kitchen, right now. She said, well, if you let me bake something here just this once, I'll leave quietly. The cook shouts, you want to bake in my kitchen? Absolutely no. The spirit again hits him, interrupting him. He then sighed and said, okay, just this once, if you promise to make that bird stay still, and clean up the kitchen before leaving. She said, don't worry. I'll never come back here again. Now bring me a scale. She tugged her hairs. The cook asked, hey kid, what is it that you want to make so badly? Whatever it is, I can tell you how to. She interrupts, saying, I thought you didn't like making desserts, Pavel. Do you even know how to make them? She said, just bring me some boiling water. The cook said, just because she knows how to bake, that little brat is treating me like a servant. She said, oops. An eggshell got in there. He snatched the bowl from her, saying, geez, give that to me. I can at least break eggs for you. Then he break eggs in the bowl. He asked her, what are you making, by the way? She said, I guess it's something like a chocolate cake. I need some hot water in another bowl. He asked, chocolate? she replied, this is chocolate. Aren't you supposed to know what you have in your kitchen? He shouts, hey, don't disrespect me, you little rascals, he asked. How are you going to use that bitter stuff? Of course, I have heard that people in the South grind it up and mix it into a drink with sugar or honey. While tasting it, she said, is it bitter? The cook said, that's right. But Baron Satoru sent it as a gift for His Majesty, so we can't just throw it away. That thing's been giving me a real headache. She shouts, yuck, he said, I told you it was bitter. Haha, that's the taste of life. Do you get it now, you little brat? She said, when are you going to bring me some hot water? He said, you cheeky little thing. If it weren't for that annoying bird, she said, put 220 rassos of chocolate and 220 rassos of butter in a bowl and melt them over hot water, then add cream. 50 rassos. Do you have cake flour? Add 60 rassos of that too. Here, let me do it. You don't even have the strength to mix anything. Now, pour the mixture like this. Then she said, that should be good. Ah, I forgot to preheat the oven. The cook asked her, do you think I ever let the fires go out in this kitchen's ovens? She asked, you never put the fires out? He replied, of course not. What era do you think this is? Did you come from 1,000 years in the past? Do you have any idea how many magic stones are needed to heat up an oven? She tilts her head saying, magic stones? Not firewood? He asked her, how did you learn to bake cakes when you don't even know anything about ovens? This oven runs on the heat generated by magic stones. We use the powder of refined magic stones as the base material to install the wiring. And, she asked, can we adjust the temperature? He replied, of course we can. She said, great then, please set it to the temperature for baking bread. He said, anyway, heating up the oven takes an enormous amount of magic stones. That's why, in the palace, we keep it on all year round. She said, I see. While setting the temperature, he said, if you don't get it, you don't have to pretend to understand. She said, oh, Pavel? Does this also run on magic stones? He replied, yeah. When the time is set, the sand starts to drop. And when the time's up, the flow stops, and the alarm goes off. She stares at it for a moment. Then she smiled at him. He felt awkward and said, ugh, kids. Then cakes got ready. Seeing them, she said with excitement, what? He asked, what was that, kiddo? Are you that impressed by something you made yourself? She said, these are the first cakes I've ever made. Quick, take them out. He thinks she knows nothing about the oven, and she claims to have never seen sugar or flour before. So, how did she make such a decent dessert? While putting a leaf on the cake, she said, last but not least, once we garnish our cakes with these little leaves. Then they, both holding spoons, said, it's time to taste. They starts tasting them. He said, hey, this is underbaked. She said, gosh. It's supposed to be gooey on the inside like cream. Then she take a spoonful of cake. She found it tasty and said in her mind, yummy. She thinks, of course, things have been this since I was reincarnated, but in my previous life, I would never have been able to dream of eating desserts made with such high-quality ingredients, let alone make them myself. It almost feels like my body is melting. I wish I could have a cup of coffee with. She noticed Pavel beaming with joy after eating the cake. He said, hey little mouse, what did you call this again? She thinks, why are there sparkles behind him? Am I the only one who can see them? She said, huh? Ah, since your name is Pavel Chocolate. Let's call it Pavel Chocolate. He said, how dare you use the name of the imperial chef so casually? She said, but it was good, wasn't it? Then she asked, anyway, Pavel, do you have some oranges? He replied, of course I do. They're in cold storage. Why are you asking? She said, sugar preserved with orange peels. Don't you think that would make this cake extra delicious? Pavel said, let's do it. After they left, the butler came and burst open the doors shouting, Chef Marka. His Majesty is requesting that some snacks be brought to him immediately. He noticed the kitchen was empty. He said, Chef, where is he? He starts searching for some snacks saying, I was ordered to bring snacks right away. What should I do? He suddenly noticed the cakes. He grabbed the cake saying, oh, he sure is thorough. He must have already prepared for this. What a relief. Seeing the milk, he said, did he set this milk aside to have it served with the cakes? All right, I'll also bring this. The emperor was sitting in his room along with Alexei. He was reading some papers. After reading it, he said, our war with the Noctis elves is almost coming to an end. Carno Neustadt played a big role. He asked Alexei, by the way, there was a slave among those that Carno spared. And you asked me to grant that slave a pardon. Alexei said, that child is only 10 years old. Although he is guilty of a serious crime, As a servant of Igor Akinfi, that child only did as he was ordered. Emperor asked. He was ordered to embroider the crest that summons the darkness. Do you mean to say that he is innocent because he did not know the truth behind his actions? That ignorance killed 300 of my innocent people. What do you say to this? Alexei said. The sword wasn't responsible for those deaths. They died at the hands of the person who had the intent. Therefore, the mastermind should be punished. Emperor said. A beast that bites a person must be put down, and a sword that stabs a human must be broken and melted in a furnace. Do you think that slave will ever weep with gratitude at you sparing his life? He replied. I haven't given a thought to such a thing. His parents were already executed for their ignorance, and Igor Akinfi, who commanded that slave to carry out the crime, was also sentenced to death by quartering. Emperor asked then, what do you suggest doing with that child? He asked. Pardon? Emperor said. His parents were beheaded for bringing the darkness out and secretly contacting the Noctis elves. That boy can no longer live in the north, nor will he be able to find work as a slave to public officials. Not to mention, there are no new parents who would adopt him or any orphanages who would accept him. What good would he be left alive? In the end, he will starve to death on the streets. Emperor said. Fine. Since that boy and Yuri's daughter are both 10 years old, I suppose they will easily make friends with one another. Hearing this, Alexei gets shocked. He said. Grandfather, there's no need for that. Grandfather, let me instead take that slave. Emperor said. I've had enough of talking about this matter. Now, tell me about the victory celebration for the Imperial army that has returned from the north. He clenched his fist. Then the butler came and said, Your Majesty, I brought you a snack. Seeing the cake, he said, I've never seen this cake before. Then he picked on and fills the spoon with it. They both got shocked when they taste the cake. Meanwhile, Asya and Pavel returned, and after finding out some cakes missing, she thinks, Pavel, when we returned from the cold storage with the oranges, a couple of cakes had gone missing. Pavel ran out in a frenzy and hasn't returned. Should I quickly bake a couple more with the leftover batter and tell him I found the lost ones? The door burst opens and the butler came shouting, Chef Marka. She gets shocked by his sudden appearance. Ayok, he said. Hello, miss. Have you seen Chef Marka? She asked. Marka? Oh, Pavel just went out to find the thief who took our cakes. The butler shouts. What? I thought he made them for His Majesty as an evening snack. He said. I had no idea, and took the cakes to His Majesty. And, after tasting the cake, His Majesty asked to see the chef. She thinks, did he put anything dangerous in them? She asked in shock. His Majesty? He replied, yes, and Crown Prince Alexei as well. She thinks, what kind of sick twist of fate is this? Of all the people in the palace, the cakes had to go to His Majesty? Oh, that's why he freaked out about the missing cakes. Hopefully, His Majesty called Pavel to praise him. But what if he ends up getting punished because of the cakes that I insisted on making? Then she said, I made them. He asked, pardon? She replied, I am Asya, Princess Anastasia. I just wanted to make something for my grandfather, so I tried baking them. The butler bowed and said, Why, Your Highness, please forgive me for failing to recognize you. She said, Don't worry about it. She asked, Did grandfather feel uncomfortable or get sick after eating them? He relied, I'm not sure. He said, For generations, our emperors have made contracts with the King of Spirits, so they are safe from poison or harmful substances. And the look on his face didn't change either. She thinks, yeah, I know that look. It's hard to decipher. She said, so, he summoned the chef, right? Let's go. While going, butler asked her, Are you sure you're alright? Feeling awkward, she replied, Yep, I'm totally fine. Meanwhile, she thinks, maybe I'm not fine, but if I don't smile, he will get anxious. After reaching at Emperor's room, the butler said, Your Majesty, Princess Anastasia has arrived. Emperor said, I sent you to bring the chef, so why did you bring my granddaughter instead? The butler said, Well, Your Majesty, the thing is, she said, I made the cakes. I wanted to give them to you. I made them. He shuts the book he was reading and asked, You made them? She replied, I pestered the chef until he allowed me to use his kitchen. I worked really hard on them. I wanted to do something for you before I left the palace, Your Majesty. Emperor asked her, Did your father teach you baking instead of reading and writing? She replied, Oh no. We've never been able to afford sugar and butter. All we have for meals is carrot porridge. She glanced at the empty bowl of cake. She thinks, thank goodness he ate it all. He didn't even leave a crumb. He must have liked it. I don't think he will punish me, she said. Actually, We have a book about baking at home. It's full of pictures, and it's so interesting that I've read it a bunch of times. The Emperor twitched. He said, Well, I found your cake to be very unique. What did you use to give it such a dark color? She thinks, it's happening again. I see a color surrounding him. It's similar to what I saw around Pavel earlier. This time it's apricot, not orange. I wonder what the difference is between them, she replied. It was a gift from some baron, that's what the chef said. He asked, a baron? Did he mean Baron Sato then? He said, very well, as the emperor, I should repay my granddaughter for her gift. She asked, pardon? He said, I have something that should arrive in a few days, and I will give it to you. She waves her hand saying, oh, but why, you really don't have to. Actually, the chef helped me a lot. Besides, I have to go back home soon so. He interrupts saying, the chef you mentioned is Pavel Marka, I suppose? I will reward him, as well. She thinks, huh? That shawl. I think it just moved. A wave of air tapped her. Emperor said, it's quite late now. You should take her to her bedroom. Butler said, why, yes, your majesty. Butler asked her, shall we leave, your highness? Allow me to escort you. She thinks, can this guy not see it? What was it? After they left, the emperor said, Shamal. The spirit asked, what is the matter? He asked, did she see you? Spirit replied, you mean the creature that looked like a small peach? He asked, peach? Spirit replied, I saw she had pink hair and green eyes. Doesn't that make her look just like a peach? I got curious, and just tried touching her a little. Emperor asked, what could an eternal being like you find interesting about a little girl? Spirit replied, it is what it is. That was my first time seeing someone so uninterested in you. The only thing that little peach was interested in was how much you enjoyed her little cake. When you promised her a reward, she wasn't even curious to know what it was, right? The only other thing she was thinking about was when she would be able to return home. That's all. Then the emperor recalled asking her, so, do you want to go home? She replied, yes. Emperor said, I suppose she inherited that nature from Yuri. Spirit said, you mean your youngest, who got angry at you and ran away the other day. Is that Peach his daughter? Emperor said, you say it was just the other day, but it was quite a long time ago. Spirit said, It does seem like several seasons have passed since then. Emperor then said, I heard that child made a contract with the spirit of small birds. The spirit said, the spirit of small birds? Who told you that it was the spirit of birds? Emperor said, it was Marquis Sarenti. He has the spirit of discernment. Spirit said, Was he your second eldest or your third? How odd. The spirit of discernment is never wrong. A small bird spirit? Well, I suppose that's one way to put it. Emperor said, you sound uncertain. I've never seen you like this before. Spirit said, this riddle will be solved in due time, but one thing is clear. Your son, the Marquis, must cherish that little Peach very much. In her room, Asya, trying to fell asleep, thinks, I'm exhausted. Geez, that was a close call. I was scared to death. But why wouldn't His Majesty listen to me? All I want is to bake some cookies. I already told him several times that I don't even want to stay at the palace. I'm getting a bad feeling that I might not be able to go home for some time. She thinks, anyway, I hope that His Majesty gives me something I can exchange for cash. That way, I can sell it as soon as I go home and buy flour, butter, and sugar with the money. Hopefully, we'll be able to fix our roof, too. Then she suddenly raised up. She taps the spirit button saying, Ugh, this is all because of you. You put me through so much trouble tonight. The spirit said, you were the one who wanted to make fondant au chocolate. Hearing its voice, she jolted Kaya. She thinks, that was too loud. What if someone comes? Anyway, what was that just now? Am I hearing phantom voices? The spirit said, you're not hearing phantom voices. The spirit came out of the button. It said, I am the great and mighty spirit of sensation, you fool. She shouts, WH. Who's calling who a fool? You weren't even able to speak until just now. The spirit said, that was because you were too weak. I only got the strength to speak after you ate something decent. She said, you weren't able to speak because you didn't have the ability. Why would you say it's my fault for being so poor that you can't usually eat desserts? Spirit said, hey, keep it down. And stop poking me, you insolent creature. She asked, more importantly, can spirits really speak? The spirit replied, of course we can. What do you take us for? She said, but the others didn't seem like they were able to. She thinks, in the original story, the spirit ceremony seemed more like either an act of blessing 10-year-old kids or a means of awakening them to their elemental power. The ceremony often ended with a simple announcement of which spirit blessed whom, and only a select few children were actually able to use their powers. That was why Anastasia, who had a spirit with a material body, could behave like she was better than everyone else. The spirit said, "That's because most of them are idiots." Asya said, "Ah, so are you saying that I'm able to talk to you because I'm smart?" Spirit said, "And no. It's because I'm the great and mighty spirit of sensation." Asya asked, "You aren't a bird spirit?" The spirit said, "How dare you label me as such a ridiculous and lowly creature?" She asked then, "The colored sparkles I saw around Pavel earlier, did you make those?" The spirit replied, "Oh, can you see people's emotions already? That is one of my powers." She gets shocked hearing this and asked, "I can see emotions as colors?" She starts asking so many questions. Can I only see people's emotions toward me? Or can I see their emotions toward other people too? Can I only see them when I want? Or will I be living in a colorful world forever? You make me unable to see the colors with your power? Tell me, what does orange mean, and what about apricot? If different emotions show different colors, how different are they? Is there a rule or tell me something? The spirit gets frustrated and shouts, "Stop, ask one question at a time. It all depends on you." Asya said, "Ouch, that hurts." "Stop." She rubs her ears asking, "But what's that supposed to mean?" Spirit replied, "The better you get at it, the easier it will be for you to control whether you want to sense them or not sense them. Not only that, but you can also let others experience a completely different world." She thinks he looks like a chick, but he's so full of himself. She asked, "The better I get at what, exactly?" Spirit replied, "Controlling your spirit power, of course. What else would I be talking about?" She asked, "How can I become better at it?" Spirit replied, "That's for you to figure out." She asked, "You don't know the answer, do you?" Spirit replied, "Well, I have no reason to know the answer. Besides, I was the one who made the cakes come out so tasty earlier. I can do anything that requires the senses. My power isn't just limited to cooking, painting, music, and even dancing." She interrupts it saying, "Well, then I guess you were the one who dropped the eggshell into the batter." The spirit shouts, "Why is every word that comes out of your mouth so mean and hostile? Even though I have amazing powers, I can't exercise them beyond my medium's capability, and that medium is you. No matter how hard I try, it's impossible." Asya said, "So, I guess that means I did everything by myself, after all. I'm the one who's amazing, and that must make you a recipe book." The spirit said, "How dare you treat me like a recipe book? I'm a great and mighty spirit." She said, "All right. I'm going to bake at least 10 more times while I'm here." The spirit asked, "Don't you think you're dreaming too small? Only 10 times? Asya said, "Yeah, because I made a contract with a tiny bird like you. Only those who have contracts with the spirit kings are allowed to stay here." The spirit said, "What nonsense is this? I am the greatest of all spirits." She said, "I'm talking about the real spirit kings, like the ones in charge of water, fire, wind, or earth. Grandfather made a contract with the spirit king of wind, and Alexei lives here because he has the spirit king of fire." The spirit said, "Humph. But those idiots can do nothing by themselves, and they're always asking me for help. If you can't remain here because I'm too small, I can just return to my original size." Asya said, "What? Here? No." The spirit fly over while Asya shouts, "I said no." Then a light glows. But nothing happens as the spirit didn't changed. It said, "WH, what is wrong with me?" The spirit tries again and light flashed, but failed again, and she said, "Hey, stop. Every time you flash, you seem to get even smaller." The spirit, utterly exhausted, said, "I can't believe I have to suffer this humiliation, just because of you." Asya asked, "Why is it my fault that you can't make yourself bigger?" The spirit said, "Whatever, you fool." The spirit becomes the button again. She said, "What the heck? How can you just yell at me and then hide?" "Fine. If you don't want to talk, then don't. I'm going to sleep anyway." Next morning she opens the window shouting, "Geez, it's so hot." She said, "It's winter, but this place is as hot as the beginning of summer." The spirit said, "Well, Fafner must be very pleased with his new contractor. That fellow is so excited he can't even keep his power under control." She asked, "Fafner?" The spirit said, "That's the name of the spirit that made a contract with Alexei, or whoever it was that you mentioned last night." She said, "Then please tell your friend to calm down. This heat is killing me." Spirit said, "He can't help it. Fafner is still young and immature." Then suddenly she remembered something. "Oh, no!" She raised from her bed asking, "The brownies I made yesterday with the leftover batter shouldn't have gone bad already, right?" She takes the brownies and then tasted it. She said, I think they're fine. Do you want a piece? She said, by the way, if Alexei's spirit is called Fafnir, what's your name? While eating the cake, the spirit replied, I don't have a name, nor do I need one. I am just the great spirit of sensation. She asked, then let me call you PB. The spirit said, I told you, I have no need for a name. Besides PB? Seriously? Are you naming me after a pie bird that you put on top of a pie to keep it from exploding? Pie bird, a ceramic device that has an open beak through which steam escapes. The spirit hits her, saying, How impudent, she said, I told you to stop pecking. I can't stand this anymore. I think we need to set some rules between us. Asya said, I think we need to set some rules between us. The spirit, feeling dizzy, asked, how dare you ask such a thing of me, the almighty spirit of sensation? Asya said, Rule number 1, act like a bird when you are in the form of a bird. Rule number 2, stick to this appearance, and never change into a different bird. Rule number 3, do not tear my clothes with your beak. The spirit asked, How is this setting rules? You are just making, demands. Asya said, If you have any demands, then tell me. Then the spirit said, Number 1, never, hold my body and shake it. Asya said, That depends on how you behave. Spirit continues, Also, you must bake something every day, and give your baked goods to everyone in the palace. Asya said, I can't do it every day. Spirit continues, Number 3, wait, why not? You said you like baking, so why can't you do it every day? She replied, It's because of some situation with the adults. Asya asked, Do you want me to bake because I'm good at it? Spirit replied, It has nothing to do with taste. It is part of the great mission we must fulfill. That's the reason. Asya asked, You mean baking cookies and feeding them to others? Really? Spirit replied, Correct. Although, it doesn't necessarily have to be cookies. Asya asked, Why do I have to do that? Spirit said, Because, my power is related to the senses, and this power can make spirits and humans communicate with each other. Asya said, So if I use your power to make baked goods, and if others eat them, they'll also be able to communicate with their spirits. Is that right? Spirit said, That's it. Asya asked, So, your wish is to contribute to promoting good relationships. Spirit replied, Well, there might be a greater purpose than that. Enough. You'll understand my grand plan when the time comes. Darn it. I'm doing all of this for your sake. She asked, confused, For my sake? Spirit replied, Forget it. Shut up, and just find me a place to sleep. Asya said, I guess that's your third rule, huh? She thinks, Well, after I sell the Emperor's gift, I should probably start by buying a birdcage. Suddenly the door burst opens and Riss comes shouting, Your Highness. Princess Anastasia. Riss said, His Majesty. Seeing her face, Asya thinks, Is this also my spirit's influence? The look on her face seems to be plainly revealing her thoughts. Riss said, His Majesty. His Majesty has. Asya thinks, No way, it can't be. Riss lifts her up, saying, Given you permission to stay and study at the Imperial Palace until you come of age. Asya thinks, What should I do? He ended up not letting me go. Riss asked, Isn't it such great news? Asya thinks, Is it really impossible to fight against fate? I mean, the original story? Riss said, Just look at me. I was so happy that I was rude to you, Your Highness. You must be hungry. After helping you with your breakfast, I'll have to go prepare your new room. Asya thinks, So, will I end up dying here? Riss said, On top of that, your room is next to Crown Prince Alexei's. His Majesty must adore you very much. Still lost in thoughts, Asya thinks, No matter how hard I try to avoid that fate, am I destined to incur Alexei's wrath and die at the hands of Karno Neustadt? Riss, while getting her dress, said, And that's not all. Crown Prince Alexei says he'll personally prepare your room. After brushing her hairs, Riss, seeing Asya dressed in a beautiful dress, said, Oh, that dress is perfect on you. It's almost as though it was made for you, Your Highness. Riss asked Asya, noticing her expressions, Your Highness, you don't look happy. Don't you like your dress? Shall I go get another one? Asya replied, No. I love this one. You're the best, Riss. Riss said, Well, that's a relief. Riss bowed and said, Then I will go help with the preparations of your new room. She said, Get some rest, Your Highness. Asya waves her hand, saying, Okay, see you later, Riss. Riss left, closing the door. After she left, Asya sighed. She said, Oh yeah, I have brownies. Nothing cures depression like sweets. Actually, I think I'll just go for a walk. She went outside, walking through hallway. She thinks, I'm supposed to stay here until I reach the age of maturity? I'll probably die before then. Just like the original Anastasia. No, I need to stay hopeful. It's not like anything's gone wrong already, and nobody hates me yet. At least for now. While walking outside the palace, she heard someone shouting, "Why? Why do I have to leave? When that scrawny girl with that puny little animal is allowed to remain?" The butler said to the boy, "Why, Your Highness, I am sorry. But," he interrupts him saying, "Go ask grandfather again. My spirit, the spirit of rainwater is." Asya thinks, it would have been better if someone like him could have stayed instead of me. Why did it have to be me? The spirit comes out shouting, "How insolent! There's an artery here in the human body. I'll strike him in his artery and make that disrespectful child unable to ever run his mouth again." Asya whispers, "PB, you can't just come out like that." Then the boy noticed her. He grits his teeth with tears in his eyes. He runs towards her shouting, "Yeah! Do you have any idea how long I've spent preparing myself for this day? How come a little dash like you," he yelled, "you disgrace the dignity of the imperial family by making a contract with that stupid and obscure piece of dash. So how come you?" The butler who was holding him lose his hold and he dashed towards Asya. The spirit said, "Why are you just standing there? Don't you see he's coming at you?" Asya, shocked, thinks, "What do you want me to do?" He fell on her, and she moves her hand to his mouth. The brownie in her hand gets in his mouth. He said, You, what did you just put in my mouth?" The butler and maid runs towards them shouting, Your Highness, are you alright?" Asya said, "It was delicious, wasn't it?" He shouts, "Are you kidding me? What did you put in my mouth?" Asya giggled and said, "It was a brownie I baked." He said, "Who would eat such garbage?" She said, "But His Majesty complimented me on the taste. His Majesty said it was really good. He even summoned me to give me a compliment, and he said he was gonna reward me." She offers him more, saying, "It was good, huh? I'll let you have another one." He said, "Cut it out. Do you really think I'd put that in my mouth, Aga?" Noticing it, he stopped. He said, "I don't want that piece of dash." She said, "It's a piece of cake that His Majesty praised." She said, "You swore just now, didn't you? You cursed at the cake His Majesty complimented." He shouts while grabbing the brownie from her, "No, I didn't." He thinks, since your father always helps us out, I'll let it slide this time. While he was leaving, she said, "Don't forget to give it to Uncle Max. I mean, to Marquis Sarantive, okay?" Another boy came saying, Dimitri, let's just. Dimitri. But Dimitri ignores him, bumping in him. Then he went to his carriage. He sits inside the carriage. Asya thinks, is it because he's a kid? He calmed right down after eating the brownie. Asya's spirit said, "You're the one who baked it. That's why it worked so well." Asya said, "Because it was delicious enough to receive praise from the emperor?" Spirit said, "Who cares what the emperor said? It only worked because you were the one who made it." Asya asked, "Do you mean that my baking can make people calm?" Spirit replied, "Yes, because your baking makes people happy. Humans feel better after they eat something delicious." Meanwhile, Riss comes shouting, "Your Highness, Princess Anastasia." She said, "Your Highness, I was so surprised to hear that you had left your room. My goodness, what's this scratch on your cheek? What happened?" Asya noticed the amethyst color and thinks, I get it now. That amethyst color means she's worried. Riss asked other maids in anger, "What happened here? How did Her Highness get this wound?" The other maid replied, "Well, after hearing the news that Princess Anastasia would be staying in the palace, Prince Dimitri got so angry that he ran at her and..." Riss asked in anger, "Then, were you two just standing there and watching?" Noticing a red color now, she thinks, it switched to a dark red color. "Riss must be very angry." Asya said, "Riss, I'm fine. Besides, I flicked him on the head as revenge. Can we go now, please?" The color fades away. She said, "You did that, Your Highness?" Asya replied, "Yes. But more importantly, you know what? I can't wait to see my new room." Riss asked, "Shall we go and take a look, Your Highness?" She replied, "Yes." While walking through hallway, Riss said, "You shouldn't wander around by yourself, Your Highness. I was going to go get you once the room was ready." Asya said, "Don't worry. What could happen within the palace?" Riss said, "But something just happened." Asya replied, "Oh, you know how kids can get." Riss sighed and said, "You're still a child as well, Your Highness." Asya giggled. Then she opens her arms, saying, "Riss." Riss hugged her. Then smiling, she said, "See? You're still a baby, Princess Anastasia." While holding Asya in her arms, Riss walks towards room. Asya asked, "Are we almost there?" Riss replied, "Yes, it's right here." They entered the room. Seeing the room, Riss said, "The room is very large, isn't it?" We're going to bring in more furniture to fill this space. For example, display cabinets, console tables, and chairs with beautiful carvings. Things that will suit you well. Asya glanced and said, More furniture? But I think this is plenty. Noticing a door, Asya asked, What is that door over there? Riss replied, That door leads to Crown Prince Alexei's room. He specifically chose this room for you so that you can visit him whenever you want. His Highness is looking forward to meeting you. I suppose you two will see each other when your studies begin tomorrow. She asked, What? She gets startled and said, What studies? Besides, he'll find it very boring to study with me. Riss said, Oh, Your Highness, you don't have to worry about that. She said, His Highness was the one who first suggested that you two study together. Oh dear. Are you sure you weren't seriously injured earlier? Asya flopped down thinking, He's looking forward to meeting me? Why would the future emperor want to study with me? I'm certain that he intends to keep me around so that he can observe me closely. That way, he can decide whether or not to kill me. Asya thinks, no matter how much I think about it, I just don't get it. Is there even a class that my cousin, who is next in line to become emperor, and I can take together? I have no idea what he's thinking. She went to his room and the butler said, His Highness is waiting for you. The door opens and she enters as butler said, Your Highness, Princess Anastasia has arrived. Alexei said, Anastasia? Have you arrived? She said, Crown Prince Al. He interrupts saying, You don't have to address me like that. I'm still the Crown Prince either way. She thinks, How cold. I understand that he has no choice but to hate me, but does he really have to treat me so coldly? He's the one who suggested we study together, but he's reading his book without even looking at me. Well, I have no choice. I should try a little harder, she tries to say, then Prince Al. But he interrupts again, Prince? There's no need for such formalities, Yen, she said, Alexei. He flinched and turns towards her. She said, You don't want me to call you the Crown Prince, and you told me not to address you as Prince either, so… Oh, do you not like Alexei? Then, how about Alosha? Meanwhile his professor came. You, Crown Prince Alexei? He said, Never mind. Please come in. Professor said, Now, shall we begin today's lesson? After the lecture she went to her room and fell on the bed exhausted. The spirit asked, What are you so worried about? She said, I don't know what to do from now on. Did you see him earlier? During the entire duration of our class, Alexei didn't even look at my face once, and I don't understand why His Majesty decided to make me stay. The spirit said, What else could the reason be? It's because he recognized what a great and mighty spirit I am. She shouts, If I at least knew my home address, I would just run away. All I remember is that there's a village nearby. The spirit shouts back, Why would you sit up so abruptly? She looked under her bed. She picks a golden and white box. She opens it thinking, My secret fund for the trip back home. Will I ever be able to use this? Why did he make me stay? I really miss home. Asya starts sobbing and said, It's not like I wanted to remain here, but my cousin hates me for that. How unfair. The spirit asked, Your cousin? You mean the first grandson of the landlord? Asya said, Yeah. He's my father's brother's son. By the way, BP, why do you call His Majesty the landlord? Spirit replied, What do you mean? It's because he owns this vast land and has people farm it. Asya giggled and said, I mean, he's not wrong. The spirit said, It seems like the grandson is afraid that you may inherit the landlord's property. He asked, By the way, aren't you sure that the grandson hates you? She replied, Didn't you see him look at me with those super cold eyes? Spirit said, I'm not sure. That rude young creature from yesterday is the one who hates you. I should have taught him a lesson. Asya said, I know that, but obviously Alexei also. Then she remembered her encounter with Dmitri. She said, Yes, that's it. She went to the kitchen. She peeks inside. Pavel comes and picks her up saying, You little rascal, you just ran away while I was gone the other night. She said, Pavel. She said, I didn't run away. Something urgent just came up. He asked, What urgent thing could have come up for a kid like you? She replied, But everything turned out fine with the cake. Pavel put her down saying, Don't get me started on that. The cake went to His Majesty. She asked, How did you know that? He replied, The attendant told me. His Majesty ate the cake. Aren't you the least bit scared? She asked, Did he say anything else? Meanwhile she thinks, He didn't tell Pavel that I'm a princess, right? Pavel said, I was too busy giving him a beating to hear anything else. She thinks, then again, if he knew who I was, he wouldn't have grabbed my neck just now. He said, His Majesty left a note saying that he enjoyed the cake and that we had nothing to worry about. I almost forgot to tell you. Anyway, since His Majesty liked your cake, feel free to come back to the kitchen and bake whenever he requests a snack in the future. Hearing this, she gets excited. Really? He said, with my supervision, yes. It's fine since His Majesty usually only asks for a snack once every other month. Asya said. Then, let me practice in your kitchen. He replied, fine. But first, you should rename the cake. She asked, you don't like Pavel chocolate? He said, are you kidding me? She said, okay, then let's go with Asya's chocolate cake. He asked, Asya? She replied, you always call me a little rat, so I'm not surprised that you don't know name. Asya has been my name for around 10 years now, she said anyway. Let me use your kitchen today, Pavel asked her. By the way, didn't you say that you'd never ever set foot in my kitchen again? She said, no one can predict the future. Remember when you said that you would never bake desserts? And now, we're baking something using my recipe again? He asked. What kind of kid retorts back so well? He said, ahem, I thought you were going to practice. What are you making today? She said, that's right. We have chocolate left over from yesterday, right? He starts sweating saying, well, like I said, that chocolate had been left untouched for a long time in my kitchen. She asked, but, he said, it's been a real headache for me up until recently, but I thought if it was used according to your recipe, it could be a useful ingredient. So last night, I tried making this and that. She asked, and, he said, I used it all up. She said, there's nothing left? Fine. She thinks, it seems like you can hardly find any decent chocolate in this world. No wonder he thought the cake I baked yesterday was so special. So he used up the rest overnight. Since an entire bag of sugar is also gone, he must have eaten plenty of sweets. Her spirit said then, are you going to make something savory this time? She said in her mind, yes, I'd better make something that can replace a meal. She said, I need flour, a bit of salt, cheese, and bacon. And some mustard powder, butter, and milk, too. She thinks, if chocolate is rare here, they may not have baking powder either. Maybe they don't even have baking soda. She asked Pavel, do you have anything that makes cookies rise? He asked, you mean yeast? She said, that's for bread. He said, such a thing doesn't exist for cookies. That just shows how pointless confectionaries are. They have no history. She asked, what was it that His Majesty complimented? Oh, wasn't it the cake I made? She asked, so, what was that about the history of confectionaries? He said, they have a history, a very long history. She thinks, if chocolate is a new ingredient, and there's no baking powder yet, is this world roughly the equivalent of Earth's 18th century? If so, I guess they wouldn't have baking powder. How am I supposed to make scones then? The spirit said, if they don't have it, make it yourself. She said, Pavel, do you have some sort of powdered medicine for heartburn? He asked, are you feeling unwell? She replied, it's not for me. Anyway, do you have it? He starts looking for it saying, give me a second. Then he gives her the medicine saying, this is from the imperial chemist. He got it out of Lake Beckel. It's a rare medicine, okay? Why do you need it? She puts some of powder on a paper and then tastes it. She thinks, this is it. This is baking soda. To my knowledge, since baking soda is neutralized when mixed with an acid, it used to be used as stomach medicine. She said, oh, and what about those dregs that are left in the bottom of bottles of old wine? He asked, you mean tartaric acid? She said, yep, that's it. He asked her, these are baking ingredients? Are you serious? She replied, just watch. Meanwhile she thinks, stomach medicine and tartaric acid, if I stir these two ingredients together, it can create the same effect as baking powder. But I'm not sure of the exact ratio. Spirit said, mix 1 part baking soda and 2 parts tartaric acid. Add 1 part starch to act as a cushioning agent. She whispers, wow, you really are a recipe book. I recognized that it was baking soda right away when I tasted it. Was that also because of the power you gave me through our contract? Spirit replied, yes. Asya said, then, what should I give you in return? I mean, it's a contract after all. Spirit replied, it's not about giving and taking. We all live together. What is there to give and take when we are already exchanging words? She mixed the ingredients. After completing, she said, done. Pavel asked, what's this? She said, I guess you could call it a magic powder. It makes cookies rise beautifully. She said, well, I think I should name it first. Spirit said, PB powder. PB powder. She said, okay then. Let's call it PB powder. I made a lot, so you can also use it later, Pavel. Pavel, still confused, asked, the mixture of my antacid and wine dregs goes into cookies? She said, try it and you'll see. Pavel said, give it to me. I'll do the cutting and handling of the fire for you. She asked him, by the way, which spirit did you make a contract with, Pavel? He said, my spirit? It's the spirit of swords, she said. Ah, is that why you're so good with knives? After making cookies they said, done. Pavel asked, how did they swell up like this when they weren't even fermented? Did my medicine really have some special effect? Then he picked the cookie. He tasted it. He gets surprised by its taste and said, it's delicious. She asked, Pavel, can you pack each of these separately for me? He asked, why? Who are you going to give them to? She said, well, I'm not sure if my cousin will like it. I saw him for the first time here at the palace, but he seemed to really hate me. Pavel starts laughing and said, ha ha ha. You've got the right idea. Kids are suckers for tasty treats. Asya said, it's not as simple as you think. She said, he must have spent his entire life eating super fancy food. I don't think these simple snacks will soften him up. He asked, if your cousin has eaten fancy foods all his life, why haven't you? Never mind. Feeling awkward, he said, these are totally scrumptious. I'm sure that kid will like them, too. I mean, they're really decent. No matter what kind of fancy cuisines he's had all his life, good food is still good food. So, the clock bell rings and she thinks, it's already 5. She rushed to leave with some cookies with her. Pavel asked, huh? Hey, kid, what about the rest of these? She said, they're all yours. She thinks, great. This is my secret weapon. I'm sure this will melt Alosha's cold heart.